work with everyone, and it seems like there's a lot of smiles on the face and a lot of commerce, which is important.
Very much
and, a lot of camaraderie, which is great, and been a fun weekend. I always I guess I over stress myself leading into it, but today is the day that when everybody's cleaning up, I get to put a smile on my face and happy to have enjoyed everyone's presence.
I mean, he brought us donuts this morning. He got us pizza yesterday. He takes care of everybody here and makes sure that people are happy, people are doing well, and I mean, you thanks to you and your company, Weber Chevrolet. If I've screwed that up, please jump in. No. Letting us have access to their box at Enterprise Center last night to watch the Blues win a game, which was also nice.
Fun.
Thanks for the win.
Poor Dan Day was pretty heartbroken that his Penguins lost.
Yeah, and he was in full Penguins regalia last night.
But just across the board, it's been a lot of fun, and I definitely like to always add that I know people say that there's so many people that take part in this and contribute between yourself and other people, other friends, my family who comes and supports it. It's never a one-man show, and I'm so fortunate to have some great people in my life and enjoy this weekend immensely.
And this room is super full, not just from the vendors, but there's a ton of the public started coming in at 9:15. Didn't know it was supposed to actually open till 10.
Yeah.
But it's just talking to people. We've had a lot of people stop by. I've talked to them about stuff. Some new local people trying to collect helmets or this, that, or whatever.
Some wonderful out-of-town guests, like our friend here, Tom Coleman.
Yep.
Came all the way from beautiful Wisconsin to join us.
Madison, Wisconsin, the capital. That's right. And formerly of the East Coast. People knew me from Baltimore and Washington. And now I'm firmly ensconced out here in the Midwest and loving life.
The land of cheese and some football team.
Beer and cheese.
Yes.
I went from the land of pleasant living to the land of beer and cheese. So.
And you're still looking healthy, though, for living in Wisconsin, so that at least is a good thing.
I'm a FedEx driver, 25 years in now, so I'm always hustling and running about. So I'll never have to worry about going to Jenny Craig.
Yes, and you're about to get into your busy season, so.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. What Wade was talking about, this show, I was here last year for the first time, and the room was like half the size it is this year. It's doubled. There's a lot more people that I've never met before, and a few people I haven't seen that maybe I've met maybe once or talked to on the internet, and then here they are in person. Like Brian Clifford is here, who used to play pro hockey, which is really cool.
Yep, we had him on Friday night talking about some of that, and unfortunately he wasn't able to make it to last year's show, but is back this year with and there'll be pictures posted up, and you'll see him with this video as well if you're watching on YouTube. But the setups, I mean, your setup, we were going through some of your jerseys and looking some of the older things, and what's some of your favorite or your prize pieces you brought?
I sold last year before I moved to the Midwest. I sold off most of my Baltimore Skipjacks, Clippers, Bandits collection. There was 20 or maybe 24 jerseys that I had left, and the majority went to one collector at the Nova show. Made for a very good show.
Funny how that seems to do that.
Yeah, I kept a couple really good pieces, but I feel like I'm a fish out of water out here, and nobody in Madison knows who the Baltimore Skipjacks are. Let's face it, most people in this room don't know who the Baltimore Skipjack. Most people listening to this podcast have no idea who they were.
Now, so feel free to go Google that and see who they were.
They were a Penguins and Capitals farm club in the American League for 11 years, and they had like the Penguins core players from their first two Stanley Cup wins. Phil Bourque, Bob Airy, Chris Dahlquist, Troy Loney, they all came up through Baltimore. And then later on, when the Skipjacks were the Capitals farm club, Steve Konowalchuk, Keith Jones, Ole Kolzig, my hero, my other favorite player, Mark Ferner, quite a few guys made it up to the big leagues and stuck for a while. So it was a very productive farm city. It may not have had the fan support that the teams deserved. Unfortunately, Baltimore always stuck with a really lousy arena in a lousy part of downtown, and
that seems to happen a lot. Unfortunately, it's gotten better now because the cities realize even the minor league teams bring them a lot of money.
Yeah, unfortunately, Baltimore's a major league town. Orioles and Ravens, and they don't have the time or interest. The local media never really took any interest in the minor league skipjacks, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely unfortunate. And we were back there looking at a Vegas. This was early Vegas hockey.
The Thunder, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget that they existed too, unfortunately.
You know, it's funny, a lot of current NHL teams had minor league teams in place. If you think about it, Columbus had the Chill, the Carolina Hurricanes and Raleigh, the Raleigh Ice Caps were there before. Minnesota had, the Moose before, in between the North Stars and the Wild. Denver had, I think they had they had a Denver Rangers in the IHL, and then they had the Grizzlies that eventually moved to Utah.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of people out there that do collect minor league teams from NHL cities. Obviously, the Detroit Vipers have a huge following. So that Thunder jersey is actually, I love the colors on it. The player was a guy who played in Baltimore that I knew, and it fits perfectly in my collection.
And one of the booths right next to you had a different colored one, so we were comparing some things, but it had the real big mesh, very open. It's like you hope they wore an undershirt, otherwise you'd be seeing everything they wore or had on. But it's interesting just to walk around this room, and what surprised you that you're seeing in this room?
Well, my good friend of close to 35 years, Milt Byron, who some people listening may have actually heard of him.
If not, do your homework on him.
He is the godfather of the hobby. I think most of us in this room have learned so much from him, and for him to bring out some of the highlights from his consignment collection. He's taken on the collection of a dear friend of his that passed away, and you look at what he has. He has Gordie Howe's Houston Aeros jersey. He has an Ovechkin jersey. He has Messier Oilers. He has Michigan Stags and
Mike Bossy All-Star.
Colorado Rock original Rockies. It's just insane what he has, and the fact that he's back in the hobby, helping everybody out. You sharing his knowledge is so huge for the hobby right now, because there is, unfortunately, if you've been following what's going on Facebook, there's been a lot of scammer types infiltrating the hobby, and we really need a policeman, and Milt fits the bill perfectly.
And we were talking and stuff, and when I'm done with the podcast today, I have got a few custom crafted specials sold to me as that. So disclose from who I bought it from, and I just want to sit down with him, because we were talking about those a little bit last night. Is have him go over, okay, here's what I have. We know this is what it is. What other things do you notice or expect? It's great to stand around and talk to people and get their knowledge, or even just the stories told on different things. And it is again, my legs are killing me. We got here Friday night, Tom, you did. We did setups and then went out to a late dinner, and it's been a ball just to share, hey, what are you bringing, or what are you hunting for? Just all kinds of rando stuff, and it's made it fun. And yesterday was insane day.
Yeah, a lot of what you walk around this expo and you see obviously you see a lot of blues stuff, but almost every dealer has something like a blues minor league jersey, or a specialty third jersey with like Wade is showing off his Springfield Isotopes jerseys with the Simpsons characters on them that are just absolutely gorgeous. And every team seems to be doing that now. And you walk around the room, and it's not just people from St. Louis. Obviously, I'm an out-of-towner. There's Brian Clifford's from Michigan. There's some other Brian. There's some other people not from around here, and they're bringing weird stuff. And it is so cool to see all the incredible styles here.
And we've had people stop in, and it's like, wow, I don't get to see these other teams or touch this old stuff, and that's yes, while it's a St. Louis show because it's here and you'll expect a lot of blues, people, as we've talked before, people collect and don't collect where they live. They may collect a player. They may collect a team because it was their favorite growing up because they live somewhere else. You don't have to be here. I want to welcome Brian Finch into the show. We had you on, was it last year or year before?
Last year, yes, sir.
And again, Tom, thanks for bringing everything, and it's been a blast hanging out with you this weekend. I'm glad you got to see the arena and from everybody listening. I took a bunch of crap yesterday because I talked about it when we recorded Friday night. I was playing at Enterprise yesterday afternoon for the Pucks for Autism charity event. I did score a goal, so that was something. Blew a breakaway completely, so that was also something. But I told him I warmed the ice up for the Blues last night since we did have a decent win.
The only thing was there was nobody there heckling you. So
yeah, I deserved it because at one point I fell because I stepped on a puck. So that tells you my playing ability.
Thanks.
But again,
Thanks.
Tom, thank you so much for coming out. I know Wade appreciates it. I do. I love hanging out with you and everybody else here. And we can't wait till next year.
All right. Thanks again, Doc.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
and safe travels back.
Thank you.
So, Brian, your collection is one of the most interesting and cool stuff that when we had you on last time. It's Miracle on Ice sticks. Tell them the backstory, how you got started, and what this is.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Always fun to talk hockey and fun to talk 1980 Miracle on Ice team.
Everybody knows what that is. Even the young kids know that one, thank God.
For the most part. Thanks to Disney and the
Yes,
2004
that sure
movie,
helps.
so that's helped. And
Funny how when Disney put something behind it, everybody seems to know more about it.
Yeah, and reasonably, they did a great job with the movie. There are a few things we can point out in there and go, that's not quite right. But for the most part, I mean, what they portrayed in the movie, really happened. The again scene really happened in Norway, and the games played out the way they did. There are a couple of little nuances, and maybe that's fun to talk about. But nonetheless,
We said yesterday with that is the movie's one thing. For us and you especially as a historian and really know that well, can nitpick that. But an average person going to see the Disney movie isn't going to know any of this, but it's fun for us to pick apart.
Not at all. And what's, I'll say, enjoyable or fascinating or all the above, the young fans, collectors, hockey players, whatever, that come through and are like, hey, have you seen the movie? Yeah. And well, did you know that was a real team? No. And they haven't quite put it together or just don't think about it, right?
Yeah.
And how many youth hockey teams watch Miracle to get them pumped up for their playoff game or whatever, or the big opponent. And it's like, well, this really happened. And actually the movie does a great job of capturing the emotion and the intensity and the fact that this group of college and a few minor players, but were still considered technically amateurs by the International Olympic Committee at the time, it wasn't a miracle. We call it a miracle, but they worked hard. They played 61 exhibition games to prepare for the Winter Olympic Tournament, which was a handful of round-robin games, and if you finish in the top two of your pool, then you get to go play for a medal. And they did it. And so how cool is that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking with somebody. I'll get back to collection in a minute, but this morning we were getting things moved in and set up, and we were talking with a few other dealers, and I am not shy about this, but almost everybody in this room, even some of the old timers, we are hockey fans in the United States because of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team.
I'd agree with that statement.
Yeah, and I think that gets overlooked where it's like, no, but that's for real. Hockey was a niche regional sport until this team kind of did the impossible, and then everybody's like, wait, well, that looks neat.
Right.
And
you brought the whole country together.
Absolutely. And I don't know that we'll ever see that kind of experience again with, just as you mentioned, bringing the country together, the political climate, the conditions, the Cold War and all these things.
Right.
It came together in one sporting event, and we happened to come out, not what happened, but we did come out on top, right? So, and then from a growth of the sport, I tell my son, who is a high schooler, I'm like, you play hockey because of the Miracle on Ice. Oh, Dad, no, really. Hockey would not be in St. Louis, Missouri, or it would not as growing fastly.
Right, and St. Louis, I believe, is the fastest growing city for youth hockey anywhere
totally.
In the U.S.
So it's just kind of fun to think about. And even our stars, you and I loved watching Brett Hull. When Brett played on the 96 U.S. World Cup roster, that whole group talked about how the Miracle on Ice was so impactful to them because, hey, when they were kids, everybody wanted to be a baseball player, maybe a football player, and then when that happened, it's like, well, I want to play hockey now, right? So it was, to say it really changed everything and turned our country towards looking at hockey. No, it's not wrong. It's, it's spot on. Anyway, so about my collection, I'm interested in sticks. I have a history in baseball as well, and I think hockey we could debate the point a little bit, but there are few things that are more personal to a player, to a hockey player, than his stick. And it's the same way in a baseball player. It's their bat, and they get their names on them. They get to, tape them up and sand them down or whatever,
especially
curve,
with the older sticks like that, where they heat them up to bend the blade or do these other things. Now it's from the factory as exactly how the player wants
true, but
them.
even then, their stick can think about like Ryan O'Reilly with the crazy, little
bend
tip at the end that's 90-degree angle or whatever. Like nobody else does that, but he gets to because he's a player and he made it in the league, and that's how he makes his money. That's how he makes his livelihood, is how long he keeps the puck on that stick and how many goals he scores with it, right?
Sure does.
So for me, sticks have just been a fascination because if you want an insight into that player, learn about their sticks. For hockey players, you might say their skates too, but skates don't seem to be a real big collectible.
No, not much at all.
They smell a little bit. Anyway, so my goal, my aim, my collection focus is to put together a team set of the 20 players on the final roster that won the gold medal in 1980. I've been very blessed. I've made a lot of great connections over the years, and I don't just love having the sticks. I love meeting the people and meeting you and hanging out. But I've been able to put together 17 of the 20, lacking 3. And they don't have to be from 1980. Obviously, I'd love to have sticks from the 1980 Olympics. But some of these guys, it's like, try to find another John Harrington stick, or a Ruzioni even, the big name. He scored the game-winning goal in the Soviet game. He retired after those Olympics. He never played another meaningful, competitive hockey game in his life again. Yeah, he's played reunions and stuff like that, but he recognized it's never going to get any bigger for me than what I just experienced. And
I'm not going to the NHL, and I'm not going to have a chance to win a cup. This is it.
Right. So for me, trying to find an Ruzioni stick, it's either got to be one of the few sticks he used he was one of the couple players that had just gotten out of college, played in the the minor pro, the minors. He played for the Toledo Gold Diggers. Great name, fantastic jerseys, right? But I've never seen one of those sticks. But I found one of his Olympic sticks, and it's one of the gems of my collection because it says Team USA and it's got his name on it.
Even better. And I mean, just spending time looking over there, and you can walk this room and see so much NHL history. Like I mentioned, there's a Mike Bossy All-Star. You've got Mario Lemieux. You've got all these big names in the room, but it doesn't equate to those sticks because of what they're attached to.
Maybe so, and I never want to put down anybody else for what they collect. And I've seen some amazing pieces of hockey history and modern jerseys. And, I'm a Blues fan, so it's fun to see some of these things, and put your hands on them and stuff like that. But I appreciate you saying that. And, so for me, I think you had mentioned, how did I get into this? I have always loved the Olympics. My parents always had it on TV. I got to attend the 96 Summer Games, the 2002 Winter Games. And so when I kind of grew into collecting game used, originally I was trying to find a way to mix the passions of the Blues and Team USA. So for a number of years, I chased the Blues players that played for Team USA. So like post 98, Brett Hulls and Eric Johnson, Kevin Shattenkirk, David Backus, those guys. And but there's only like 6 or 8 of them. And along that track, a friend of mine was like, hey, you like the Olympics, there was one player. I'll circle back to that in a minute. There was one player that played for the Blues and also played for the Miracle on Ice team. And I was like, well, that's kind of neat. Like, I'm already chasing these other Olympic sticks. Like, doesn't get any bigger than Miracle on Ice. So, and it was Dave Christian's. Well, I found a Dave Christian stick. Thought it was kind of neat. Turns out there were actually 3 players that played for the Blues. Mark Johnson and also Bill Baker had a very short stint. But those 3 were on the Miracle team and also played for the Blues. I'm like, well, maybe it'd be neat to find those sticks as well. So that's
Just
how we go,
keeps-
right?
just
kind of
keeps
keeps growing a
expanding
little
out.
bit. And then I've got a different friend, and he was from the baseball vein, but he always went after team sets of game-used bats from championship years for the Cardinals. And I always thought, well, that's a neat,
Right.
like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming, but that's such a neat thing. And, well, after I found, I got a Dave Christian stick, and it's taken me a while to find Mark Johnson and Bill Baker, but along the way, I'm like, well, there's a Phil Vercoda. Well, when am I going to see another Phil Vercoda, right?
Might as well pick that up.
Might as well
now.
pick it up. And then I was like, you know what? I love this so much. That team, we've already talked about it. And it's not – that story is as impactful as it is. It should be. Beating the Soviets, winning another game, and securing
yeah.
a gold medal. What I love about that group is just there were so many other stories that I felt were kind of unknown. I referenced it earlier. They played 61 games over 6 months to get ready.
It was kind of a tour around the country,
It
wasn't
was,
it?
yeah. So they were based in Minneapolis, St. Paul, lived up there, played their home games up there, practiced up there, all those things. But they actually participated in the 1979-80 CHL season. And so they played all the Central Hockey League teams, so the Birmingham Bulls and the Cincinnati Stingers and on and on and on. But here's the deal. They didn't just show up at their rinks and play an exhibition. They played as a team, and their games counted in the standings. So
they
Stingers
came in as a CHL
That's
team.
right. So the
Wow.
Stingers couldn't go easy on them. The Stingers,
Uh-huh.
they were
This was,
fighting
hey,
for the playoffs.
this counts. We don't care
Right.
at Steve USA. It's still important.
Absolutely. And because of the timing of the Olympics in 1980, it's February of 1980,
Sure.
they knew they weren't playing for the playoffs, they were playing for the experience. But if the Birmingham Bulls wanted to get into the playoffs, well, guess what? The game counts, and you see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of
Sure.
this interesting disconnect, and we just don't see things like that much anymore. So they were, kind of road tested going into the Olympics because they played these teams, and you're playing the CHL. People look at Miracle on Ice and like, oh, that was the team that kind of changed U.S. hockey in terms of being the burly, and getting into the flow and the circular skating,
Yep,
like
that style.
And that style. Yet they had to go through one of the toughest leagues of grinders and fighters, and
And when you're telling like Disney story or whatever, a lot that stuff gets cut out because it's boring for a movie, and it's a much tighter. We want to get to the big stuff.
Yeah.
We don't want to tell the other. And I know they touch base on them, showing them playing at Madison Square Garden with the one of the Russian
Soviets,
team.
yeah.
So did some of that, but you're right. It's those other pieces that get. Let's say get lost to history, but get lost when you're telling the story,
Right.
To make
Well,
big
so many
movies.
people who would be the Soviets, woo,
Yeah,
great.
right.
And that's the story. Well, that is the story. But again, there's so many other, little facts and tidbits and a lot of nuance there. It's like this group they literally were that band of brothers. And they, of all those games, 61 games, 12 were played on their home ice.
Wow.
The rest of them, so
travel.
we're 40, 48, 49 games were on the road, and they used those road trips that season to raise money so that they could go to the Olympics and play in the Olympics. I mean, it's like
Sure.
yeah.
I mean,
So-
you didn't have the big money. You didn't have because the Olympians get paid insane amount of money now, or
Yep.
sponsored, or however you want to put it. But it's back then. It's like, so what? Yeah, that's this little this niche thing that I will watch on TV or whatever. But yeah, they had to fundraise all that. Now there's no worry.
Well, and think about how that group then grew together, right? They didn't just come together and train for 2 weeks and go represent the country, and there's no shame on that. That's kind of the current way. But this group, I mean, when the sledding got tough,
Yep.
they had nowhere else to look except to one another, because it was just the group in the locker room that had to haul their own bags and go to these wild places and play against guys that couldn't, care less if they were going to break a bone or chip a tooth or knock a tooth out or whatever, because that guy was playing for points in the standings. This group was just going, we're just doing this to get better. So when the chips were down, all they had to do is look at each other and go, hey, of all the other people that we think care about us, nobody cares more than we do because we had to
The
live
guys
this,
in the room
right?
are that tight knit.
Oh, man. And so when you think about that in that context, it's like, yeah, so they got going and they had to score a goal in the first game of the Olympics against Sweden to tie it up in the last minute. They knew who was going to do it because they'd been fighting that fight, for 6 months, right?
And it's as you start playing with I mean, even currently, you get together, start playing with a bunch of guys weeks after weeks. You know who's going to be where, and you know their style, and you can pass them the puck or do whatever, even in a beer league or whatnot. But you're right. It's that family unit they become, and it's crazy. And looking through your table, we spent some time yesterday talking. You have a pair of the gloves from the movie, and it was interesting to compare. You have an original pair, and then the movie prop, movie worn pair, and it's crazy to see what they did to make them look as close as possible.
Yeah, well, Charlie, I must say as we get in here, we're at a Game Use Expo, and as much as I love the Disney movie Miracle, I never thought before I really got into this, and it's been a couple decades now, that I would be looking for movie worn or movie matched, like screen matched items, and yet it's the same way. And so with the movie, when you're watching Disney, and you'll recognize this, but they made so let's talk about some of the game use aspects of the movie. I think that might be a little fun.
Oh yeah, and we've seen, and I think it's Larry Pelliconi that had the jerseys and
he had
a bunch of stuff
number
out,
of them, and
you still see those pop up
been
occasionally.
a few other sources, and of course, okay, so a real gamer from 1980, Miracle set. I've got an issued one over on the table, but a player that was on the roster, played in the game. Those jerseys don't go south of the cheapest one was like $40,000, and I can't remember if that was the white from the Miracle game or the blue from the the other games, right?
Because they wore the darks up to that. Is that correct?
They had
okay.
white and blue in the Olympics, but they wore white for the Miracle game, and then they wore blue in the game against Finland to secure the gold medal.
Okay.
So both of them have a story, right?
Right.
And and just to put it out there, if our listeners don't know, just because they beat the Soviets did not mean they were going to win a medal. They had to go and take care of business 2 days later. It was a Friday night. They beat the Soviets, and then they still had to go at least tie or beat Finland. It was a point system. It wasn't a knockout tournament. It was a point system, and the only way they could confirm, like without a doubt, that they were going to be the gold medalists were to go and beat Finland 2 days after they'd had the pinnacle, right?
Oh, shit.
So,
and real quick, going back to Disney movie for a second, and how they did that is, hey, they beat the Soviets, and here's this thing, and then there's a little quick clip of, oh, by the way, they beat Finland and got the gold medal.
They finished the story, and there it's already,
It's so, like, wait a minute.
So let's talk about the movie stuff. There were players, there was an actor, which was really a hockey player that was turned into an actor, for every position player, every player on the roster. So there were 20 players on the USA roster. There were 20 actors that were portraying those 20 players. In the movie, there are three styles of USA jerseys. There's the Olympic white, the Olympic royal blue, and then they did sort of a pre-Olympic jersey, it kind of tracks with what the team did. The team actually wore two sets of jerseys in real life. They wore a kind of a lighter weight slinky set right off the bat. I believe they were made by Athletic Knit. I have one, but the tags have been worn out of it. And then they moved to a second set, which were a heavyweight jersey by a company called Norcon, which is based up in Minnesota.
Imagine that, Minnesota.
Yeah, right. Everything came out of Minnesota for them. So the Norcon jerseys looked really good. They had a diagonal USA down the front. And so they thought, it's my understanding that the real team thought that second set was going to be the set they wore through the Olympics. However, they were cut a little short, and the players didn't like them. So they went back to Norcon and said, can you get us one more set for the Olympics? So they changed the diagonal, kind of stack USA on the front to a radial arched low, USA, and they added stars to the shoulders, like a nice little flourish. Those jerseys were only worn in the Lake Placid Winter Olympic Games. So they wore these two other sets of pre-tournament.
For the CHL stuff
all
and
that
all
stuff,
that.
right. So anyway, what the movie did, what Disney did is they took that same kind of concept and they used that pre-tournament style the diagonal USA down the front of the jersey, and they use that for all the pre-tournament games you kind of see as the story builds up to the Soviet game. So it's kind of like there's really two halves of the movie. The first half is kind of leading up to the Olympics, and then they sort of blow through the round-robin games, and the second half is really the miracle game, right?
Sure.
So what Disney did is for every actor, every skater that was Team USA, they had 3 styles, and each actor was used 6 jerseys for each different style.
Wow.
So for every actor in the movie for Team USA, they had 18 jerseys to pull from. And that was just more continuity that, what if one gets ripped, we got to have another one. What if one gets a big puck mark across the front? Well, as jersey collectors, game used collectors, we're like, that's great. Right. Well, in the movie, they're like, we may have filmed that scene, on Monday, and then we get some footage the following Friday, and it's all against the Soviets. We can't have one scene where he's got a huge puck mark across his chest, and then the next scene in the movie, it looks like it's right there, but in real life, they were filmed 2 weeks apart, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times with movies, not all the case, but a lot of times it's not filmed in continuity.
Right.
You may film the end scenes before you've ever shot the beginning of the movie. So, yeah, it's making sure all that lines up, and you're right, it would really throw it off.
So for those of us that look for use, right? Well,
it makes it real difficult.
Always, it's like the opposite for the movie, right? So what the movie did, though, in addition to that we'll call it set number 1, the pre-tournament set, they didn't make him just white and blue. The movie used this cool storytelling technique of, we want the lighting not to be quite as good. We want it to look like old-time hockey. We want viewers to feel the struggle and the
not 4K and bright.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So those jerseys that are the diagonal USA that you see them playing against the CHL teams and that kind of stuff, they're actually navy blue, not royal, navy, and the white is sort of an off-color gray. Well, they've got to have the gloves to match the jersey, and that's this is the again scene. Think about the again scene. Low lit, after the game.
Turn the lights off.
This is when
we
arena. Find, our inner grit and character. And so they had gloves to match. Well, the players were all issued 2 sets of gloves, but one of them were hand-painted, these kind of deep tones to match the jerseys, again, to get back to this storytelling technique. So it's this cool concept, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you look at I've got a couple of several of the movie jerseys out, one of each of the USA styles, and you're like, why is that one navy and the other one's royal? Well,
yeah, in person it's such a muted, weird color, like you said, and then looking at the gloves, it's like, wow, putting them side by side, they're damn near identical.
Yeah.
They did that coloring well.
Totally. So they're hand-painted gloves for the again scene. The players, as far as I know, had 1 set of gloves that they used for all the pre-Olympic games, and then, of course, and then when they went to the Olympics, then everything's bright white, and it's, the lights are shining, and, all those things, just what you referenced.
Right.
And so what a cool way to tell the story and to show that, hey, we're done with the slog of the pre-tournament games. Now it's for real, right? Now we're in the Olympics. And I think, in real life, that was a challenge for the coach, for Herb Brooks. He famously, in real life and in the movie, comes into the locker room and says, who do you think we're playing? And I forget what he says exactly, but, we're not playing Birmingham for some CHL game. We're in the Olympics. Like, this is what we've trained for. This is why we're here. Like, snap out of it. This is different now. And the players did, and they rallied around one another. And, of course, we know the end of the story, right?
Yes. I think they did okay.
Yeah.
But it's so cool, again, and even you said it, is not knocking anybody else's stuff in this room, but seeing what that is and knowing what a country-changing event that was. Because, yes, there's super rare all-star jerseys and Stanley Cup jerseys that changed a team or changed maybe a player's life for contracts or whatever. But that, in your booth, changed the country.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I completely agree. And what's been enjoyable for me, I have my interest and fascination and enjoyment out of the hobby, but then I'll talk to some other collector who is, like one of these longtime vets. They've seen it all. They've held the Gretzky jerseys, and they've worked with Gordie Howe, and, like the pantheon of greats, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, last year we had a fella come over, and he was just like, you don't understand. When I was 10 years old, I watched this game, in the living room with my dad.
Because it wasn't even live on TV.
Right. Right.
That's the other thing that
great
people
point.
don't
It was on
realize.
tape delay, right? And but then, and he just said, "Oh, I just stand in awe, not of my collection, but that there's a stick of that guy, right, that was in that player's hands." And I said, "Well, pick it up." He goes, "Oh, I can't do that." Dude, pick it up. Like, hey, they were used in a hockey game. It'll be okay.
Right, yeah.
And-
By you holding it, they're not going to fall apart.
and I'm not kidding about this. Doc, he had tears in his eyes, like just going back and that memory with his dad. And let's face it, how many memories do we have in our lives where it's like, I know where I was when this happened. And you think about in U.S. history, it's like the Kennedy assassination or September 11th or those things.
The applause in the background, you're hearing Reed Lowe got in, took a nice tour of the room, is getting ready to start autographing and that. So
Awesome.
we'll get him to join here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
But think about how many of those moments in our lives and like in world history are connected with a negative occurrence.
Right.
We know where we were on
Exactly.
September 11th, those types of things. But how fun is it to have the positive, right?
sure.
I remember where I was when,
And unfortunately, I don't. I was 2 years old.
Yeah, I'm in a similar circumstance.
But growing up, as you watched the NHL or stuff like that, and anniversaries of that come up, it would get hit on, and you'd hear different things.
Yep.
And every year that anniversary seems to hit, it seems to continue to grow bigger and bigger. They do more for it, which is great to see that the longer it goes, the bigger it becomes.
Well, and we knew it was a big deal when it happened, but the further away we get, it's like, oh man, that was a really big deal, right?
But like you said, going back to the person that saw you last year, it is when you can. We're a very, as humans, we're a very tactile person. Is yes, if we're involved in something or we have a memory of even going to see a hockey game or whatever, and okay, down the road, you're able to buy a jersey that was worn in that game.
Absolutely.
Or with this, is that was you saw that night on TV, it was a super meaningful thing, and now you're able to touch one of those players' sticks. You're right. No, I don't care who you are. You're going to be emotional over that. That's how it is.
And all of us, that's probably why we collect, right? That's when you strip away all the layers of the onion, we do it to have that connection to something that was maybe a little bit bigger than us, whether it's I've got some stuff for my son. He's a goalie. He's got his favorite goalie, but certain games you've been to, and it's like, this is the glove that the goalie was wearing in net that night. Like, that's cool. We want that connection, right? So,
and I did that one with a jersey. I picked up happened to come up for auction, picked it up, and anytime when jersey up for auction, I'll go research them. I like to see what the player did in it. Hey, how many goals, assists? They have a fight, all this kind of stuff. And one of the games, it was right after Jay Bouwmeester collapsed. It was the away game right after that. I think it was because he happened at the Ducks. They played in Vegas.
In Anaheim,
Vegas did a huge thing for them, signed banners to get to Bouwmeester, the whole bit. And that night, and I can't think of who it was, one of the Blues players scored 4 goals.
Wow.
And just ran away with it. And when the jerseys came up for auction later that year, I'm looking through, I'm like, holy crap. He had 4 goals in that first hat trick, all this kind of stuff, picked it up. And after the auction was over, I posted, I'm like, hey, I thought this was a cool piece. And somebody reached out and said, hey, I was in Vegas for that game that night and got engaged while this was going on.
Oh, wow.
And reached out, and I'm like, you know what? Here you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, sold it, I think, for what I paid for it. I'm like, this will mean more to you.
Right.
Yes, it's cool he scored 4 goals.
Yep.
But it's that meaning is more important, and connecting that. And it's those connections go way farther than other stuff, is helping people out because it has a bigger meaning to them.
Right.
And it's so cool to see your stuff. And again, stand in front of one of the most important pieces of American history. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, and I'm not knocking the world wars and those kind of things,
right.
but like you said, those are negative things.
And
this is right.
For us, this was the, we hope we have other mountaintops, but
one of
this
the
was
heights of the
mountaintop.
Cold War,
Yeah.
and we beat the Soviets.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody.
Well, and there are,
the leadership. Of
these
Soviet
are not my
Union.
words, but if you read, some other world historians, there are those that have a belief that this game losing, the Soviets losing, was one of the first chinks in the armor of their people, of their citizens,
it showed a
recognizing
vulnerability.
that, right, that, hey, maybe this, kind of communism thing is not all it's cracked up to be, because they had been fed, the diet of propaganda that we are the best, we don't lose, and that.
And they hadn't.
Right, so, and it was like, wait a second.
Yep.
You said it were like, we're vulnerable. Like,
Yeah.
well, what else is out there?
Right.
So.
What's happening next? Well,
So
Brian,
anyway, sure, appreciate it. Love that you do this.
I
and-
appreciate you coming to the show, and it's so often, and we all get it. Is people may buy stuff and it goes in the closet or goes on a wall and nobody ever sees it. But doing these expos, even if nobody was buying and selling anything, just showing it off, it gets people to see stuff that they either, one, didn't know were out there, or in this case, connecting them to something amazing.
Right.
So thank you for what you're doing, and it's miracleonicesticks@gmail.com or miracleonicesticks.com. I'm assuming you have pictures. I haven't been to your
Absolutely,
site.
yeah. I could do a better job of having stuff out there. We all could, right?
Yeah,
with the website.
we're all busy in life.
But hey, if anybody's listening and they have any sticks or any items that were from those players, even if they use them in the NHL, I'm interested, and I'll make my collection plug if that's okay.
Of course.
Mark Pavlich, Buzz Schneider, and Eric Strobel. Those are the 3 sticks I need to complete the collection.
Wow.
And I'll keep collecting. You always find opportunities to improve, but I've been doing that, going after sticks for about 20 years, and in 20 years I've not been able to acquire any of those 3. I don't care if they use them in an NHL game at this point, if they use them in some reunion game. If it's got their name on it and it's a pro stick, I'm interested.
So one final question before we get out of here. Have you met any of these guys and told them what you're doing, and what kind of reaction did you get?
Great question. So I had the wonderful privilege to work with the entire team at a show back in 2016. They were up in Chicago. It was the old TriStar show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what they call it now, but and through just a circumstance, a happenstance, really, locally, I'm from the St. Louis area, but a friend of mine worked for an autograph company, and they were the company that was representing the team as a whole.
Wow.
And he said, hey, we need help for the weekend. We can't pay you, but if you go up there, you'll get to work behind the scenes with all these guys, and they'll sign a few things
I think
for you.
that's going to be okay.
And I said, I think I'm in. It was fantastic. They don't know me from Adam. A few of the players I have personal connections with now, but and I can get into that in a second. But it was so fantastic. And just like most players, particularly players, we'll say not modern players, because they're in the game right now or recently retired. But these guys, some of them, we just said, probably the last significant game they played was at the Olympics, right, in 1980. And here we are 30, 40 years after now. And so I had a handful of sticks at that time. I took them with me as just, and I like them as conversation pieces.
Oh, yeah.
But I mentioned Phil Vercoda. I pulled out a stick, and his eyes got so big, and he was a kid in a candy store. He's like, I can't tell you the last time I held one of my hockey sticks.
Wow.
And it's because we haven't played since 1981 or something, right?
Yeah, true.
And it's no different than an NHLer, or any other professional player, where it's like you get to a certain age, you retire, and decades move on. But these guys, these are for half the team are just ordinary dudes. They
went off to do
work,
regular
did a lot of
jobs or-
banking, finance, real estate, that kind of stuff, restaurant business, whatever. And and there's the other half that did sort of break that glass ceiling of the NHL to show that, hey, you don't have to be Canadian to be successful in the NHL, right? And that's no knock on the Canadians, but that was just the belief. So when Mike Ramsey could immediately go to the Sabres and make an impact, Ken Morrow would immediately go to the Islanders and make an impact and win a gold medal and a Stanley Cup in the same year. Mark Johnson making an impact. You see what I'm saying? So they opened the doors for so many other U.S. players. But back to your question, these guys they could not have been any nicer to me. They appreciated that their story was being remembered, but then to hold one of the sticks that
just like the kid that was 10 years old is bringing that back to them,
and all those memories come flooding back. And of course, while I'm doing all the talking now, I wasn't then. I was the sponge to soak it up and shut up and listen and let them have their moment and be thankful that you got to be there to witness it. And that's awesome.
again, like you said, that opportunity just fell in your lap, and it's something you'll never forget.
And we've had other opportunities. I say we generically, but so very selfishly, a few years ago, and I know you remember this, and we probably corresponded in groups, but the internet comes of age, eBay. Now we're finding things on eBay as collectors, and it seemed like in the hockey collecting community, there was this real trend to go to forums. We were all involved on forums and Game Worn Forum and other forums and all this kind of stuff. Can't even remember all of them now. Well, then there was this transition to Facebook. And I'd never been big on social media, and I kind of resisted that. But then I found that, I'm hearing about other people getting stuff, and they're doing it through Facebook groups, and I'm not involved there. So if I want to continue finding the best ways to, connect with somebody you never knew to connect with, it's through Facebook, right? So I get on Facebook, I sign up to some number of the, stick groups and game use groups and things like that, and we're part of a blues group together and that kind of stuff. But I was like, well, where's the Miracle on Ice group? There's so many people that collect this team or just want something in their collection from this team.
Yep, say it was used there.
And there was no group for it. So I started the group. And
I bet you were flooded quick.
Actually, no. Like, it was the opposite. And I was just determined, like, I'm going to let this grow organically or whatever. And so for, I don't know, a few years, and we've been a group for maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 years now. I don't know. First few years, there were just a handful of people. I mean, it was just the most boring thing you could see. And I'd post some
little activity.
I'd post some stuff, and you'd have, 8 or 10 people respond out of the 24 that were group members, like, oh, this is great.
Hey, you got a third of them anyway.
I remember this, Well, then, so the group grew, and over the first few years, we got up to, I don't know, a few hundred members. I remember hitting 500. It was like, oh, my gosh, like, we're doing something.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then the pandemic happened. And
funny, everybody's home now.
Everybody's home, and they're looking around and reconnecting with these old memories and pulling out the boxes and the ticket stubs and programs or whatever, right? And all of a sudden, like, it just transitioned from I'd get a few membership requests, a week to a few a day.
Wow.
And now we have a group that's we're nearing 3,000 members. And we actually have some of the players involved because
that's fantastic.
And so how incredible is it, or team staff or whatever, that, hey, I was so-and-so, or I was the stick boy or the son of the stick boy now, or these players are interacting with our group members. And it's not a regular thing, but as the group leader, I get the privilege to,
holy crap,
right.
This is...
And, and so now anytime there's a signing or a show appearance or whatever for the players, they help us, or the promoters know about our group, and it's like, I never thought I'd be in this position. Very selfishly, I started that to find more sticks, and it's grown into this whole thing, and where I go after sticks, somebody else goes after signed pucks, and where they go after signed pucks, somebody else is after ticket stubs.
But everybody's going to try to help the other person, because you don't need the one thing, but you need these other things. And,
and we can help one another.
Of course.
I mentioned the Eruzione stick. It came an owner, an entire set of single signed pucks for that whole roster. And I couldn't afford the whole collection, but I had a buddy on the group that said, I want the pucks. And I said, well, I want the stick. Well, let's go in on this together and help each other out. And really, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing here, right?
Yep.
We're making connections, we're helping each other out, and
weekly. Just in general, weekly, I get messages. Hey, I'm looking to buy this. What do you think on pricing? Or I'm looking to sell this, or I'm hunting for this thing. And it's been, sometimes it's been a year before somebody says, hey, I'm looking for stuff, and I stumble across it, and then I reach out, and I didn't realize you. I'm like, dude, if you're asking for stuff, I'm always looking.
Well, I can say that too. Plenty of people know I'm looking, but I'm at the point now where any legitimate, hockey stick collector across the country, I may not know him personally, but they know there's this guy named Brian that chases Team USA sticks, 1986. But it's the ones it's the unexpected, right? Steve Janisak, he was a backup goalie for the team. He actually was the only player at the 1980 Winter Olympics for any hockey team to not log any ice time.
Wow.
And that was a tough pill for him to swallow.
Oh, I can imagine.
But he also met his wife at Lake Placid. They're still married.
Things worked out okay.
You talk with Steve, and while that was tough at the time, he would never, and he'll tell you, I never regret that experience. And it shaped him. he was an incredible teammate. He learned how to sharpen skates. He got there early for other players who wanted to shoot on net and have a goalie in net. I mean, he was the epitome of a great teammate. Well, he played a similar story. He got a cup of coffee in the NHL, played 2 games. I think it was 2 games with the Rockies, Colorado Rockies, and 1 game with the North Stars. Played for, I don't want to say 2 to 3 seasons in the minors, kind of bouncing back and forth, and he retired. Okay, so now I'm chasing a stick of a guy who didn't log any minutes, was the backup goalie, and sure enough, it happens where somebody on Facebook in one of the groups, what didn't happen to be our group, but it was a goalie collectors group, said, post, does anybody know the price of a Steve Janicek stick?
Gee, I think somebody does.
Bingo, because if you're asking that means you either have one or you know where one is, right?
Yep.
And so I connected, and again, the stick collectors all know, but it's when those kind of the barn finds. That's what I'm getting at. I found this in my aunt's closet or whatever, and that was the case. He had been given a huge grouping of sticks that basically his aunt. She was a longtime season ticket holder for the Wichita Wind, the minor league team.
I've never heard of.
Yeah, and what a great name too, right?
Oh yeah.
and so we worked out a deal. I've never seen another Janicek stick. I may never see another one again, but by golly, what a cool opportunity! Yep. And because we know one another, people. So I saw it, but I had at least a half dozen other collectors that were like, Brian, get on this right now, connect with this person. Work it out, and if you need anything, I'm here to help you. I live in that area. If they won't ship it, I'll go pick it up for you. If they, and that's what we do, right?
Yep, that's the hobby. And when I've looked for stuff, not anywhere close to that level, but sometimes stuff pops up and 8 people will tag me, and I've had people, sorry, you probably already got tagged. I'm like, I appreciate you thinking enough to still reach out. I don't care if 50 people message me. It's the youth. You stopped and thought enough of, hey, he's going to want this. I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah. And, and really, and not to make this about who we are, but I try to treat people well. You treat people right, you'll get treated well as well.
And these kind of things will come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, again, anyway. Brian, good luck with your continued search. You're almost there, and maybe by next show, it'll be all wrapped up.
Well, let's hope, and everybody in this room knows that I need those 3, so we'll keep looking.
We'll all be looking for you.
Yep. Oh, hey, we've just had somebody walk up. He's showing a picture of himself on his phone with Vladislav Tretiak, the first period goalie from the Soviet game.
That's phenomenal.
See, right?
And again, just talking here, member of Dog Nation stopping by, and it's just insane. So how'd you meet Tretiak?
So I used to work at international hockey schools. There was a goalie camp and player camp that was on. It was like a week-long thing, and Vladdy he was the head goalie instructor there.
Oh, wow.
So my junior year in college, I was asked to help out and was one of the assistant coaches up there, and Vladdy would, I think it was his last year there at camp, was my first year there, and he's super cool dude. He had a lot of awesome stories. Just his kid, Max, I believe it's his grandson, Max, was one of the attendees there, and silly, unbelievable goaltender. I think he was 10 at the time.
Jeez.
Well, many believe he may be the best goalie of all time. But aside from these exhibitions where the Soviet team would come and play, an NHL All-Star team or that kind of stuff, Challenge Cup, whatever, he never got a shot in the NHL because his government would not allow him to leave, to play.
He was drafted by the Canadians, I believe, but he never came over.
Yeah, never got the chance. And very late in his career, he got that opportunity, but decided, no, I'm done, and they'll never see really who I was as a player because I'm on my last leg. Yeah. And coincidentally, it was another player, and there's some great documentaries out about this, but Fetisov. So Slava Fetisov, he was the one to change, sort of there are other government things going on too, but he was the one that really pushed his case, a defenseman. He was a young defenseman on that 1980 Soviet team, played in the Miracle Game. And he was the one that would open the door for so many Russian players, to follow and get a chance to play and really be, we can say they were compensated in 1980. That team was effectively a professional team. They were in
Yeah.
the Soviet
Oh, yeah.
military, and they were paid to train to be hockey players. And they all had these sort of titles of, in this area of the government or whatever. But they were hockey players, and they
Right.
were paid to be hockey players. But they weren't really being paid on the level of who they were in the world, hockey community, right? So when Fetisov made it to the NHL and would later go on and win cups with the Detroit Red Wings, now he's making millions of dollars. He never made that as a Soviet
Oh, of
Army,
course not.
employee,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, I think you understand. And
Yeah.
so Tretiak, what a goalie.
Unbelievable.
And
even at that age, that was from 2000. I think that was the summer of 2007, 2006, 2007. He was still in immaculate shape, and he's running. So like we had two on ice 2 hours of on ice, dry land, and all other stuff. And he's hanging around the kids and doing all that stuff, and he's running dry land. So like all the exercises and stuff, it was all like all the training that they did, all the exercises they do. He's putting these kids through, and it's not like, all right, well, I've got these young guys that are going to demo all these drills. No, Vladdy did it. Like,
Wow.
He's doing cartwheels. He's doing dancing. And that was part of it. He's not young anymore, but
yeah.
holy cow. I mean, he's
Yeah,
an
he's got to be
amazing.
40s or 50s at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
He's in great shape. And he demo drills on the ice, doing there's various edge work and skating drills. And some of them are like, if you can do this, you've mastered your edges. And it's just, again, he's at that age, and you wouldn't expect this. And he's doing, honestly, cartwheels on the ice in full gear, full skates. Guy was unbelievable. And I only got to meet him for a week, but it was still one of the most, by osmosis. I just got better as a goalie. And then it was just such a cool, experience.
Oh,
to say the
I
least.
love it. Thank
Great
you
guy.
for sharing that. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
And do me a favor. We plugged it in our first podcast on Friday, talked about a little bit, but plug Dog Nation again for me with what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dog Nation, it's a hockey charity. So we help out those that have encountered a traumatic event in their life, whether it's a illness or otherwise. And we're able to put on events and try to raise money for those that have run into that kind of thing. And recently we had a cornhole tournament and raised $6,000 for a guy's name's Bill Cloyne. His daughter had come into an illness where she needed a bone marrow transplant. It was early onset to leukemia.
Oh wow!
And we try and help out in any way that we can in assisting with their medical bills and that kind of thing. And we put on various games and with the Blues alumni. Reed's here now. Between Reed, Cam Jansen, Terry Yakes come out, Mike Zook, and a few other, Dwight Schofield. They all help out and support, and we'll put on a game and help raise money and do other various events. Our biggest one is the Johnny O 3-on-3 tournament box hockey, and that helps raise money for the next recipient. So we'll pick out a recipient and help them out in that way with all the funds that we've raised. So. It's a very cool organization to be a part of, and
And you guys have chapters all over the United States now.
Yeah. So I guess the mothership, as we'd call it, is in Denver, and that's Martin Richardson. He's the head dog. He was recently, this past season, was nominated by the NHL for the Willie O'Ree Award for all the work that he's done.
That's awesome.
And he's done an amazing job. They put on a tournament called Dog Bowl that's out there. I believe it's I think they had their 13th one. Is it 12th or 13th?
Wow.
I have the puck. I can't keep the Roman numerals straight in my head.
That's all right. Math is tough. It's all right.
Yeah, they have 60 teams and various divisions, women's, co-ed, a platinum division that's D1 and NHLers that play. Troy Terry was playing in it last year.
Jeez.
So current guys. It's non-contact. He was in a contract year this year, so I don't think he was out there this year. But it's a great tournament. There's a blind hockey showcase game. There's a special hockey game. There's a sled hockey game. So it's everything revolving around the sport and giving back and everything. And it's a phenomenal time. And we're trying to emulate that here in St. Louis. We have a dog bowl here out at 17.
So you guys seem to do an amazing job. I know I've worked with Matt quite a bit, played with him in various things down here, and you guys do phenomenal. How can people find out more about you?
You can go to our website, dognationstl.org. And you can donate there. And like I said, we have a St. Louis chapter based off the Denver one, and Jared Schmierbach, Matt Heath. Those are the two the head honchos with our group here. So
So if you're listening to this podcast anywhere, and if you don't have a chapter near you, throw money at this one. If you want to donate, or you see they're doing an event, come into town for it, because I mean, there's a ton of stuff. There's a hockey event. We have a lot of listeners that play. Help them out in some way. If you donate some, you know what? Mention you heard it on the Dirty Laundry podcast, so they know. But I love putting you guys out there. You do an amazing job. Thank you again for everything you do for St. Louis.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Brian, thank you for everything, and you congrats on a great show. We got a couple hours left, and I know people are enjoying it. I'll let you get back to your booth and pick up some more people.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk. And again, if you want to find out more, miracleonicesticks.com, or if you're on Facebook and you want to join our group, it's the 1980 Miracle on Ice Collectors.
Help us find sticks for
That's
Brian.
Right. That's right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. So we got the big guns here at the Expo now. Reed Lowe signing autographs with us today, and I saw you walking around. What do you think walking in this room?
Well, I've done a lot of these autograph sessions and been around this kind of thing for a long time, and what I think's so special about this is there's so many guys that have spent their entire life just being collectors. You know, when it starts with cards as kids, but for some of these game-used pieces and these pads, and he's got a picture of all the little circles of how he's matching these pads, just so somebody can, you know, maybe believe it. These personal collections are outstanding, and it's really cool just to walk around and see some of the history with the baseball guys in the back, and some of the hockey stuff that we have out here is incredible.
What's the piece that impressed you the most?
I'd have to say,
and I know that's a tough call because there's a lot in this room.
There's, you know, to have a goaltender's entire set of equipment after it's been used like that's pretty cool. There's some jerseys that are off the charts. There's some old hockey sticks there that I can't even believe a guy like Noel Picard could even handle a puck with that stick.
Oh.
Being my size, like I could never play hockey. It'd be bent over. So it's pretty hard to try and pick one piece. This place is pretty cool.
Now, what do you think when people bring your gamers up to have them sign them and show them off to you, or your gloves or whatever they have?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just, you know, having people think enough of you to where they want a picture of you that's autographed because of a game that you played is pretty humbling. So I enjoy people. I enjoy signing the autographs. I enjoy giving the time and making sure that hopefully people can see the authenticity and the genuineness that I bring it with.
Now, are you a collector of something?
Not really. I've been working on trying to collect all the hockey cards that I've gotten over the years. I've got a game-used jersey from every year that I played pro hockey. But other than that, you know, I don't really have I got a bunch of sticks that I had signed over the years from teammates and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I don't actively go out and collect stuff.
But still, I mean, just the fact that you're getting gamers when every place you've been. Now you have an Ice Cats one?
Yep.
I remember seeing you play there.
I got all three of my Ice Cat gamers. I got my Baton Rouge Kingfish. The only one that I'm kind of missing right now is my Norfolk Admirals jersey. I thought I had one, but I must not have grabbed it before I left. So if anybody out there in Fantasylands have a Reed Lowe Norfolk Admirals jersey from 06-07, let me know.
We have a big audience, so I'm hoping we'll pull that off. Reach out to me, and if so, then Reed will be in touch with you. Hey, I know you got people coming in to get autographs, but I appreciate you coming on for a minute.
Awesome, man. Great time here. If there's any listeners out there, get your ass down here.
Thank you. We've seen so much great stuff at the Expo so far, and thanks for Reed Lowe for joining us a few minutes ago. Now bringing Tony on board from Heritage Auctions. Welcome. What'd you think about the St. Louis Expo? First time here?
You know, it was my first time doing this show, and I don't remember another show, the first time that I've done it, that as much came in as far as quality consignments as this show.
Wow.
What I really like is, like, as I do game use, that's kind of my bread and butter, that's what I collect, and to have a show focused on game used is a great idea, an excellent turnout. We were very encouraged. I had a great time.
That's awesome. And because you do a lot of mix shows, right, like cards and different things like that. Yep. Okay. So is this your first focus show, or have you done some other ones?
It is, absolutely it is. Yeah, I mean, most shows are usually 70% cards. Memorabilia is making a nice, steady climb, but I mean, this is such a good idea. And, just from talking to Wade, it's grown and grown and grown. And, to see this many dedicated fans with one team, I have never seen that before.
Well, and we appreciate you guys being out here, and it's been a fun weekend to hang with you and learn what Heritage does. And you're right, but walking the halls here, it's not just blues. I mean,
it's
we've
everything.
got,
It's
just
everything.
Laying hands on the history in this room's insane. What's the favorite piece you've seen?
Meeting the Chicago Blackhawks expert and Milt Byron, meeting him, I think, I've seen Milt's name forever, but I've never.
I mean, who hasn't?
But I never had a chance to meet him before. And when you can meet some of these guys, especially guys who specialize in specific teams, I think that's really cool because you can learn from them. And meeting the Chicago Blackhawks guy I really enjoyed because I'd never met him before. And hockey are the most passionate collectors there are by far.
This room shows it pretty well.
Absolutely, and it was a great attendance, great turnout, and there's autographed guests. There's something for everybody. And when I was a kid, this wasn't really game used was in its infancy. And it's grown to this level now where there's a dedicated show towards it, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and we see them across the country, and they continue to spread out.
Yep.
And we talked we did a Friday night one and talked about how some people, 5 or 6 guys, would get together in the back room of a bar and bring stuff and trade and whatever. And I'm like, that's all that it has to be. It doesn't have to be in a hotel and multiple days and all that. It's like get together and then just get the camaraderie and build it from there.
Let's get it back to like how it was when you and I were kids. And when I was a kid, they were at bowling alleys. That's where card shows were, or VFW Hall. That was
at least a VFW Hall still exists. There's a lot less bowling alleys.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, no, you're right. I mean, we're getting back to our roots almost, by having some of these smaller shows, and he's grown this, and you can tell why. It's because he's got good connections, and he does it the right way.
Oh, for sure. And I was doing interviews here earlier today and yesterday, and you guys had a ton of traffic to your table because you're a big name, and people are coming to see you. What's some of the stuff they brought to you?
I mean, we got a lot of flannel jerseys, a lot of Cardinals jerseys.
Gee, I can't figure out why.
Yeah, we had one gentleman bring in some just absolutely stunning panoramic photos, original team photos, one from 1911, and
no, they had panoramic ability.
Yeah, well, they would have to take 3 different shots and then merge them together to make the photos. But they were very, very limited, and we got in a Federal League panoramic. So photos I had never seen before, I never knew existed. We had one guy bring in an absolutely stunning Clemente rookie. And it was centered beautifully with great corners. It's raw, so we're going to get it graded, and it'll be one of our upcoming auctions. But, that kind of thing, you just never know what somebody's going to have. And I'll say this, for the longest time, we've been trying to get out to St. Louis. And, and having this show gets us out here. We love it.
And, I mean, not that the other people listen to podcasts care, the weather for mid-October, it was 80 degrees
Absolutely.
here yesterday. It was
gorgeous
beautiful
weather.
You got to go to Enterprise Center last night with us to watch.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Game,
that was amazing to get to see. Was just amazing.
You come back every year.
We'll
but
be back
right.
every year. Yeah,
I've been here the last 3 years, and it is. We started with half to 3/4 of the room, and in the middle was empty. We were all around the edges, and now, holy crap, we're just tripping over each other. Not in a bad way, but the volume of people here, the traffic's been great, and we're 20 minutes outside of St. Louis in Collinsville, Illinois, where the shows actually is. But yeah, I mean, it took us no time to get to the rink last night and flying in here. So if you're anywhere, if you want to come visit St. Louis, do it during the Expo.
Absolutely.
Meet guys like you, talk to these collectors. I'm assuming you talk to other people and be raving about this coming forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I've known Wade for a long time, and because he was involved, that got me wanting to come here. And then, but after seeing it, experiencing it, I'm like, it's amazing. And the thing was, yesterday was really packed. Today, it really picked up, kind of like late morning, early afternoon. So I mean, the
Everybody's
crowds
had
were-
their Sunday breakfast. and
Absolutely.
Sundays are usually more open for people anyway, because if you're local, you've got your kids' sports or different things going on. But like I said, even for us, we timed it right with the hockey game and everything, and it was great. And I could walk this room for days and still find nuances on jerseys, or the gentleman I had on earlier with the 1980s Olympic team stuff he's
Yes.
doing, and just I don't care if you hate the team that you're seeing, but touching the history with the Blackhawks Cup jerseys and stuff like that, it's just amazing. And the stuff that you guys get to put up
Absolutely.
for auction, I mean, you've got to be blown away with
You know,
how that
I say
works.
this all the time. It's literally a rotating museum is how I explain my job. And I mean, I'm on the road a lot. I'm in the office not as much as I would like to be, but I'm writing. I'm doing all these different things. It's fun, and we put in a lot of time, absolutely. But it's fun work.
And
if
when-
you can say that,
Oh yeah, and Wade and I talk on a regular basis, and when he was planning this, he's like, "Hey, Heritage Auctions is coming out." I mean, he's just over the moon. I'm like, dude, and again, he's one that wants to make sure everybody's happy, and he stops making sure stops by and, hey, everything going okay. Everybody in this room had a great time. I don't even if they didn't sell or move anything, I know everybody in this room had an amazing time.
It was so much fun, and you know, like I said, having Wade as the point person. I mean, my goodness, he had drinks for us, and he had food for us. I mean, he really above and beyond what you see. So, I mean, it was really well done, and I mean, he's just a great quality individual, and you'll see this show getting bigger and bigger as the years go on.
Eventually,
I know
we
that.
might have to find a bigger hotel.
Absolutely.
So how can they get a hold of you if they
Yeah.
want to consign things?
If anybody ever has any questions, my email is Tony, TONYG @HA.com. Office number is 214-409-1997. Our auction is opening actually today.
Oh, wow.
So our November catalog sale. So they'll be in the mail probably next week, late next week. So it's fun times, never a dull moment. And
you know what? And I want to ask you about that because it's 2023, and I see them on the table over there, and I haven't had a chance to look through it. An actual catalog, a physical catalog in 2023. Why do you guys stick with? I'm just curious why you stick with that.
That is a very good question, by the way. I think collectors, me personally, I still like to page through a catalog. We have a printing facility at Heritage, so it's
Well, that's
easier.
helpful.
Yeah, it is, and we have 40 different divisions, so we're one of the few that still does it. I think collectors love to hold that catalog and to page through it. And is it something that maybe in 20 years they won't have them anymore? But I still think people like to get that catalog in their hands to look at everything in one.
And you know what? And I'll say something about that because I'm a guy in IT. I've been in IT for 27 years now, and we've seen all these different either teams do it or a private collector starts an online database for tracking jerseys and different stuff. And that's all well and good until the team goes away or the guy goes away or the database gets deleted. But if you have even a catalog as a reference thing, that's something you can put in a drawer or put in a box and 20 years from now open it up and go, oh, yeah, here's these details or here's whatever.
When I first started in this industry hobby, I was a newbie. I'm intimidated a little bit. And what I used to do with the catalogs, write down the prices and kind of do that as like a way of learning some of the prices.
Yep.
And it starts to sink in as you go along. And that's what I used to do. I don't save them as much as I used to. I do save the player catalogs, but they're great reference.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times for families, if they're selling dad's collection, that's their, they can have that as a remembrance a little bit too.
Sure, and ironically enough, going back to the wide digital over catalog, as I do a similar thing with the Blues auctions, is I set up a Google spreadsheet, and every auction the Blues do, I put the closing prices.
That's a great
the
idea.
Date when it was sold, the dates they were worn, all those kind of details, but I share it to our Blues Facebook group so anybody can access it. My Google account's not going anywhere. Google probably in my lifetime won't go anywhere, but that sheet's open to anybody to see.
Exactly.
So there is that reference in every year that I'm
and you
able
can
to track
see
it.
some of these jerseys go up in value. It's a great way of doing it, and yeah, I mean that's and it's good for all the fans, collectors, everybody that they can see it.
And I'll go through too. So if there's a player, let's say the Blues tomorrow put their set one home jerseys, I have the full roster laid out of everybody that was rostered to the team at that time, and go through. And if the player's not in that auction, then I mark it as such of not sold at this time, because sometimes those either show up down the road as a one-off auction, or the foundation gets them to do something else. So it's even, okay, hey, what did this sell for? Well, it's not there. We've never seen it come up to the public, maybe a donor. It went, so it even helps with that. So it's fun to do it, and I started as a one-off thing, but it's interesting to watch those kind of things. I have people reaching out all the time. Hey, in 2019, what did this sell for? Okay, let me go to that sheet, and yep, it's this price. And I said, these average out to about here if you're wanting to put a bid in, all those kind of things. So it's that thing I just decided one day, it was during COVID, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and do this. And I've had more people, oh, that's a great idea. And some other people started doing it with other teams.
I wish other people did that. You're kind
and
of
it's harder
ahead
to
of the
do
game.
like if they do the in auctions only, but so many teams now have moved to the some kind of online auction.
Yeah,
where that's
they've got.
easily
I mean, some of the
trackable.
better stuff that's what they're putting it in, because they know their value,
Right.
And that's that is that way.
Tips and tricks out there for people. Tony, thank you for coming on.
Anytime.
Again, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. It was great hanging out with you this weekend and learning what you guys do. And hopefully we'll stay in touch as well. And I'm glad Wade is and has brought you here. And we hope to see you again.
We will definitely be back. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, thank you. As we continue to bring in many of the vendors and visitors to St. Louis, made a trip that not many, I think, would make, especially by car. The man, the myth, the legend, Wade Hampton. Oh, wait, I'm sorry there. Mr. Milt Byron. Milt, I don't know, I've talked to you a lot over the years, but finally getting to meet you in person, and holy hell.
Oh, my God. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a handful.
And then some.
And then some, baby.
Hey, taking you to a hockey game and all that,
yeah,
I mean, that was phenomenal.
That was fun.
So what do you think about visiting St. Louis?
I love it. You guys did a great job here. You guys did a really great job. Wade kicked ass on this show, I mean, if you're a collector out there listening to this, you should have been here, because this was an event that equals none in this area. It really doesn't. You had hundreds and hundreds and thousands of jerseys in this room, and great stuff, amazing stuff.
I mean, we had just interviewed Heritage before we brought you in here, and one of the things that blew them away is the fact that they've never done a show that's all jersey collecting and that kind of stuff, be it baseball or hockey.
Yeah.
They've done mostly card shows and that, and it's a whole different environment this way. And that's one thing they loved about it.
Right, and I was glad to see them here because it's part of the hobby itself, and it's because of them running auctions, and they need to know what we do. They need to see us, and they need to come here and experience what we do. And I think they really walked away with a better understanding of what game-worn hockey jerseys are, and the game-worn industry in itself.
And it's funny you mentioned that, too, because yesterday we had the Ringside Reserve, the St. Louis Blues, come out here with the program they do, and Nick Gay, the head of that program, walks in the door and sees the setup behind us here, Clifford's setup. His eyes are huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Wade and I talk to him all the time and tell him what this hobby is and how big it is. But until you walk into a room like this, you don't get it. And I talked to him again at the game last night. He's like, now I understand.
Exactly. They don't get it. They don't get it. And, that's something that, that I spoke with them briefly yesterday about it, is that once, like you said, once you see what we do, and that's no different than what we just said about Heritage, once you see what we do and who we are, that blows people away. It's completely different.
And you've been in it from its infancy, really.
I created it.
Yeah,
This
funny.
animal I created.
Because I remember buying the hockey news and
Yeah,
different things and
and there
seeing the
I
ad in
was,
there, and I'm
yeah.
like, there's some Blues jersey in there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and of course I was in my teenage years. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of money
Yeah,
for
yeah.
$200 for this
Oh,
player
yeah,
that I would
yeah.
kill for
Wow,
now.
yeah. Yeah, and that's that's the thing is that when we created this, Larry Pelliccioni and Sean Higgins and I came up with the idea of doing this. An expo for just jerseys. I said myself and the guy that worked for me, Bill Stahl, we would travel somewhere in the country every weekend.
Wow.
And so we were traveling to see 3 or 4 guys in a different city.
Holy cow.
And then hopefully other things would happen while we were there.
Sure.
And so, and it's all marketing as well. But then I said, why don't I bring everybody to one spot? Let me get all the jersey collectors, the hockey jerseys collectors, and let's get them in one spot and see how that goes. And I said it to Larry, and Larry says, let's do it. And Sean Higgins was involved with us, and I couldn't do the first one in New Jersey because of scheduling, because I'm pretty booked back then. 6 months in advance.
Wow.
That. You know that when you're trying to get tables at a show.
Oh, sure.
You got to jump on it.
Yep.
So we had Detroit first, and it was a huge success. And then we had mine after that, and then it just snowballed from there.
And it's insane to see it grow, and you started with a few of those expos, and then you keep seeing more with social media. Hey, there's another one popping up here. And I mentioned it with multiple people, is we don't care if it's 5 guys in a room, like you, kind of how you started. Then the next year, it might be 7 or 10, or now, like even looking at Wade's in the 3 years that I've done it, is now there's tables in the middle of the room, and you've gone from 20 to 40 tables, and but it's not everybody's. Well, it's just going to be blue stuff there. No, it's not.
No.
You have a holy crap, the range of stuff that you've got.
Yep.
You've got Pete with Chicago and some more modern stuff he's had.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and that you're right about that. It started like the Hershey show was this weekend, and I know that my friend Ken and I traveled there last year. I wasn't back selling yet, but I like to travel and show that, hey, Milton is still here.
He's still alive.
He's still alive.
Folks,
oh my
come
God!
on.
But they had 17 tables this year, and so it grew from last year. And so
And the pictures, I saw the pictures online the other night. They look amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks. And again, the guys out there, thanks for doing
Absolutely,
that.
thank them. And the thing I was talking with Dan Day, we were talking about it. Do you realize that the last 8 weeks there was a expo somewhere in the country or Canada?
I love that.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. But it has to be.
Sure.
You have to have these things because the collectors out there need to come and see this stuff. You have to come and hone your craft. You have to come in and sniff, smell, look at, feel, touch what these game-worn things are. That way there, when you get a jersey and you're looking to buy, you already have some working knowledge.
And let me ask you a question, because, again, you're the first prices you had were on stone tablets. That's how long you've been involved in
me
this.
And Fred Flintstone.
Is when somebody would reach out to you asking about I'm assuming it was a phone call and, hey, were they? I'm assuming you were having to describe the wear and do all that kind of stuff
Absolutely.
that way.
You couldn't send in pictures. It was over the phone, and you described it to them. And, a lot of times, guys would call back and go, oh, my God, the wear is so great. I didn't,
descriptions never do those things justice.
Especially back then. It just was amazing, the response.
And even with social media and cell phones with cameras that rival anything out there anymore, even when you take the pictures, it's the lighting, it's how you laid it out. It's all this stuff that doesn't always show correctly. But then you get it, and you're like, holy hell, this thing is 10 times. Or sometimes when the teams sell them, the arms are folded behind. You can see marks on the front, but then you get, I was talking to somebody, they got a Carolina jersey, and the arms are shredded.
Yeah.
And we talked to, like, that would have been more money had you have seen that, because guys want jerseys just trash.
I agree 100%. And that's the whole key about that is that, and I was talking with somebody actually about that. Is that actually it was Dan. Dan Day. We spoke about coming here or coming to a show and seeing everything. And the other thing is when you come to the show, realize that it's a family. This is a family. This is not just jerseys. This is people.
Oh,
You
I
know,
mean, because I walked
it
outside
is.
to get something out of my car, you'd pulled up and stand there and gave me a hug.
Yeah,
And just,
Hey!
it's those kind of connections that we've made
Absolutely.
for so long.
And a lot of times, a couple guys said, "Oh, you're the grumpy person," and we laugh about it, and we laugh about it. And I'm completely a different person when you see and come talk to me, because what I have to do online is I have to protect the hobby.
Right.
I'm going to protect. I'm going to stand for the guys, and I'm going to protect it.
And
if you're screwing off,
Yep.
you're going to get me, and that's just how it is.
And it's getting. I wanted to get back to the piece of taking the pictures with social media and being able to Facebook Messenger. Yep, I send you pictures. Yes, that's well and good, but what it does here is laying the hands on stuff. Yes, you're not going to be able to always go across country and go to an expo, or if you're buying a jersey, hey, I'm going to fly out and see it, that kind of stuff. But when you get to do these things, or if there's one close, go, because you'll either make a connection, you'll find something you like, or you'll get to just lay your hands on a piece of history. The Bossy, the Hull, the stuff you have hanging on the rack. People are just touching that, losing their shit over it because, oh my God, I can touch this. I saw it on the ice, or I've seen it in pictures, or whatever, and now I'm holding it.
Absolutely, it's so important, because that is the key. Is that like you said, coming and touching it. You come and touch a St. Louis Blues fabric, and then you go home, and then you see one online. Now you know what it felt like. Now you know what it looks like. Or you saw the Bruins Pooh Bear jersey on my rack. Now you go home and you see one available. You know what it is. You go, oh, yeah, I saw that on Milton's rack. Or hey, the Chicago Blackhawks with the Stanley Cup Finals patch sewn over to 75 that Pete has. Oh my God, I saw one of them. That's so cool.
And for us that love seeing the weird crap that trainers do, is seeing that.
Yes.
And again, same thing is in a picture, I could see kind of how that fabric around there, but looking at it going, holy crap, that's not even cut straight. They roughed it on and then flipping the jersey inside out, see their patch. It's like, the hell were they thinking?
Yeah,
it's quick. Some of that, we got to get it done quick, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I looked at the pair of Pronger skates that Dougherty had over there, and the trainers had to pop the back out and then made a piece that looks like the back of the skate. He did it with art. Did it with Sharpie to make the back of the skate match the other one, and that's you have to be able to see that stuff.
Yeah, it's and pictures either won't show it well, or you can't picture it right. But until you can hold that skate up and move it different ways,
around,
and it's neat because when between all of us get together just talking is the weird stuff that you see. And I've had an equipment guy on, Chad O'Neill, who worked with St. Louis and worked with Bert for that matter, telling the stories of some of the stuff that the players required, or the weird stuff they had to do, or seeing the jerseys that had the Canadian fight strap in it with the shoelace or the skate lace and that stuff, that till you look at it, it's just like, I don't know. But getting it in front of you, and you may decide, you know what, you're a Blues fan, but you found a player jersey from somebody else, and you can see what kind of wear, and it's here. You can take it home with you.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking another good thing about the evolution of this is that in looking at different things, I only saw one bad jersey. Back when we started, there was many people had. But now, because of what we've done, the veteran collectors out there, and what we've done and what we've taught the new people, that has completely gone down to minimal stuff, where before it was rampant.
And luckily now with the modern stuff, it's much easier to a point to manage that. But back when it was the wild west.
Oh yeah.
And we were talk about that on the drive back and forth to the game is what teams were the custom crafted specials way back when, and you feel I knew the teams and kind of how it happened, but you were able to fill in how they got caught, because I didn't know that side of it, but it was cool to put all those pieces together.
Yeah, and that's something that somebody said one time, and actually somebody said here to me, is that from Heritage, I need to write a book. Well, the stuff in my head is locked in there, and it just takes different things to for it to pop out. Like I was talking with Rick Angerman about a Blues jersey he has, and then another collector came up and was showing me a Bob Gassoff jersey, and I went, oh, wait a minute. I said, bring me that jersey back, because you know what they did? They tailored the black marks out of the jersey, or they dry cleaned them. That's why there isn't a lot of wear on the outside. But I can't remember all of that stuff all the time. It takes time for that brain to kick in, and I went, ooh.
and sometimes it takes seeing another piece in the same room to bring that back.
And that's and lo and behold, that's what it did. And it was nice to have. I was showing the guy that had a jersey that wasn't right, and I showed him a number change on one of mine so he could understand what that was and why I said he had a problem with what he had. So you're able to do that and have that is really amazing.
Bringing somebody back in here now. Tom,
we got a hired gun.
Before the podcast is over, I want to tell everybody.
Oh, wait, it's over. Sorry, we got to.
All right, we got to leave. See you. Bye. We're leaving. Goodbye.
Tell everybody in the listening audience who has been listening to Milt, and I just wanted to say to Milt, as a friend and somebody I've known for over 30 years now, how much we all appreciate the fact that you're back in the hobby, because I'd say everybody that was in the room today owes you a debt of gratitude for everything you've done between policing the hobby and informing everyone. I mean, do your homework. I mean, it's so ingrained in my head. The first thing I did when I got the jersey that I bought from you today was I took it back to my table and I looked inside for the wear. I mean, that's
absolutely.
So I just, on behalf of everybody here at the show this weekend, on behalf of everybody listening to the podcast, and on behalf of everybody else in the game-worn community, I just want to say a very big thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of this group again. And thank you very much for being an excellent friend, a wonderful friend. You're like a father figure to me, and I really appreciate it. And Jason, thank you so much for this chance to tell Milt
of course.
exactly
Love you,
how
buddy.
I feel about
Love
it.
you, buddy. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot. Tom, coming for you for sure. I'm not gonna cry, but I really appreciate that what you say, and it's you guys and the guys listening that matter to me. You guys are this hobby is my baby, and you guys are my grandkids, so to speak, if you think of it that way.
So if I'm your grandkid, can
No,
I hit
you
up
cannot.
Oh, never mind.
I already knew where he was going.
Tom, thank you very much. And again, as people are starting to pack up a little bit, safe travels to you.
God, he's like the Jolly Green Giant. He gets up and it's like a shadow.
Right.
Like I hurt my neck to look up at him.
I picked on him last
And he's
year.
wearing sandals. Can you imagine if he had shoes on?
You'd be hitting the ceiling in here.
Milt and I were going to take a photo together, flexing. So it would have been the Charles Atlas bodybuilding ad from the comic books back in the day. I would have been the before picture, and Milt is the after picture.
We will pull that off before we
boy.
leave.
Oh, boy.
Well, Tom, thank you,
Thank
and
you,
safe
Tom.
travels to you. Milt, again, welcome to
Thank you.
St. Louis.
That was great.
It's been an amazing weekend. I know you got to get packed.
Yep.
You got a long drive ahead of you. But
Well, I got beer to drink.
Well, you enjoy that
Did I
too.
say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Hey, we all did.
We're staying over.
But you enjoy the
thanks.
rest of your stay and
Thank you.
safe
No,
travels.
thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
It's been
And
it's
thank
been
you,
amazing to hang out with you in person.
Jason, thank you for being my friend all these years. So it go like Tom said. I cherish every friendship, every relationship that I have in this hobby, and that's what makes me do what I do.
And again, I haven't bought stuff from you in I don't know how many years, but it doesn't matter.
No,
it's
not
the
that.
connections, and that's the
Yep.
stuff I enjoy.
It's
is
not
guys
that.
like Pete from Chicago.
Absolutely.
I
It's not you're 100% right. It's not. I don't worry about that because that takes care of itself. Selling jerseys takes care of itself.
Yep.
It's the relationships that you build.
We're brought here together for a similar thing.
Yep.
But even if none of us made deals or anything, we'd still have a ball.
No, and one thing that you did last night that really plays a part to this whole conversation is that you saw a jersey that Mark Rankin wanted, or Paul.
Paul, right?
But Paul would have wanted that what came up for sale from the Blues, and what did you do? You took care of them.
Yep, reached out.
Reached out.
Because again,
Yep.
Paul's done stuff for me with different deals. And so,
100%. That's what we have built. That is the backbone of our hobby, is taking care of each other. I stress that. I tell you that. And when somebody isn't doing it, you're going to get me.
And watch out, because he'll drive far. You proved it this weekend.
Absolutely. My buddy has an airplane pilot's license. I'll be there.
There you go. Well again, thank you
Thanks,
for all
buddy.
your time.
Thank you,
and,
thank you.
Thank you for the great show. The room is empty. We've covered a lot of stuff over technically 3 days. People getting in on Friday doing setup. Yesterday was a full day. Today was a full day. Brian Clifford is wheeling out his multiple bags of stuff to
The last pass of Clifford.
Yes. And they are picking up the room. We are the only two left sitting in here right now, and it's done for the year.
Yeah, thankfully it went well. I mean, no real hiccups. So many people visited. So much fun. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I think we were talking before we went live with this that, you know, it's such a production to put together, but it's so rewarding at the end. And you walk away and you think about the people you met first time, friends, people you've whatever, and what great connections. And, you know, you walk away and I always tell people I get to a point where at some point during the weekend I'll stop and like look around the room and I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah, and the sad thing is you couldn't look around the whole room because it was so damn full.
Yeah, attendance was great this year. It was really, really spectacular. You know what was funny was in the last couple of years it seems like Sunday was always kind of like quick and people were, you know, whatever. But this year, I mean, the crowd was great. You know, Reed was fantastic with people. Reed Lowe, what a great guy. You know, the guys yesterday, you know, Larry Patey and Darren Kimball were both fantastic with the people and really enjoyed it. And it's neat to see those guys' reaction to the room. A lot of fun. Very fortunate. Tons of attendance. Thank you guys all for coming. If you're listening, thank you. If you didn't come, get here next year. We're going to have fun. I'll give dates soon.
Right. And again, we're not, if you can't make it to St. Louis, go to one of the other ones. Support whoever puts them on, or like we're not. I mean, I'm bugging the shit out of people over this. Start your own. If you're not close to one, start it with 5 people at a bar or somewhere. Just do it and get involved. It doesn't
Don't have to
be,
come to mind.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a huge production.
Yeah.
Because this started small.
Yeah.
And now look where it is because of the interest, the new vendors. I mean, my God, to have to put tables to the whole middle for the volume of people. And some of the local people that had tables due to the scheduling could only do it one day. Yeah. So they came and they brought their stuff for the day. They moved stuff, made deals.
People spread out.
Right. If you can get in for, say, come in on a Friday night, be Saturday, and then leave late, do it. Yeah. I mean, we got so lucky with the Blues schedule and your generosity with getting in a box and stuff.
Thankful to where I work, and I work for some great people, and they provided a cool opportunity for me, and they're supportive of me, and I'm very fortunate for that. So, supportive, glad to be able to pass that on to everybody. Again, I want to say, don't just come to mine. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying come to ours. You don't have to fly to St. Louis. But get out there, like Doc said, and support the hobby because, man, you know, there's nothing like being able to see everybody else's stuff.
And Milton and I talked about it. It's one thing, and started with him with starting in magazines and that, and you call people and get wear descriptions, or when we were in the forum, you could, by that point, scan photos or whatever, and then you get into digital stuff, and now social media, and it's gotten great because you can instantly reach out and ask questions or do stuff. But pictures only say so much. Yeah. Text only conveys so much. Getting in front of people in the room, or if you two people drive to meet somewhere, just the two of you to exchange yours or do whatever.
Meeting in the
it's
minds.
the in person because you could lay a hand on a jersey or see it pictures and, oh, yeah, that looks good where, but you go in person and you're seeing 10 more things the camera doesn't pick up.
You can only look at your 10 jerseys so many times, but being able to lay yours next to somebody else's that you've never seen from a same set or from a same year or seeing the differences, there's nothing online or virtual that does that what we do at one of these. And so get to one of them. Make connections with people. I've seen so many people this weekend that hadn't never met but knew who they were. You see friendships form, you see relationships form, you see trades happen, you see commerce. I joke around. You see me walk around there, and I keep going. Commerce is happening, and I love it.
And I talk to people that, let me think. Problem shipping it. If you want to, he's like, I'll get in touch with you in a week. Fantastic. It doesn't happen today, but the connection's made that something may get done later. And I told him, like, you know what? If you decide you don't want it, that's fine too. Please let me know.
Absolutely.
But I said, no hard feelings. It's that's what this business is. But just walking up and down the rows and laying hands on things, and the number of people, both days I saw walk in the door who didn't have tables here, but with armful of jerseys to try and sell amongst the people, trade stuff, whatever. Holy hell.
A guy walked up to Reed with a pair of his elbow pads from his playing days, plopped them on the table, and said, "Do you know what year these are from?" I mean, like, but,
and I'm guessing Reed probably didn't have an
he was
answer
looking at them. They were signed by Reed, like with old signatures, and he just kind of smiled. And that to me was like, I actually chuckled because it's like, the guy had a helmet he didn't know about, and he had pictures, he had some gloves, and it was actually funny was to watch like people trying to figure stuff out, and and I don't want to get into the details of it, but we did some jersey examination towards the end of the day today.
Holy hell!
But and that's answering questions and people that are in the know discussing and learning and growing,
and we all learned a lot and found a lot of unexpected things. But you can't do that via pictures. Yes, the bigger stuff you can send pictures of, hey, these holes or these marks, but some of the finite small things that we did some quick passes and then we started going back and kind of fine-tooth combing. It's like, wait, this is here, it shouldn't be here.
Looking on salting on fight straps, looking at the inner piling on a jersey. You can't really see you can't see some of that stuff through a picture the same way you can when you're rubbing your hand against it.
And we pulled multiple examples out, and the more examples we pulled, the more the pieces of the puzzle came together. And it's insane to start the day believing one thing and ending
learning
the day
something different,
and having a whole lot of mysteries to solve.
Perspectives changing, and again, I got to watch you work today, Doc, and I'm fortunate enough to be a guest on the podcast regularly.
Co-host.
Jeez, I don't know. It's like I'm McMahon now. But yes. Yeah. But like watching a lot of the people that came in jumped on the podcast and a lot of those opinions.
And I apologize we didn't get to everybody because it was such. It honestly, the Sunday, because I wasn't able to be around here last year for Sunday, but the Sunday the year before, I will say was somewhat calmer. But this year, I mean, it was nonstop.
Yes,
and that's made it great. We brought and of course by this time in the podcast you've already heard him. Brought Reed Lowe on for a minute, asked him what he thought of the room. Told you what the guys from ringside just
Brian Finch, guy.
Oh, Brian and I talked for 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, 80 Olympic stuff. His background with the Cardinals. I mean, it was neat to see a room full of a lot of like-minded people that collected different stuff and had a blast. And but again, I want to thank you for the podcast. I want to thank you for being such a big part of what we do in the community that we have around here, and then nationally, same thing. But thank you, Doc, for what you do. Thanks for providing the podcast this weekend. We're fortunate to have
I wish
you.
we'd have gotten one done Saturday, but that day was holy
packed.
hell.
Yeah.
We could have done it about 11:30 at night, I think.
Yeah, I was done.
Yeah, so. we all were, but not because it was a rough day, it's because it was a great day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Heritage Auctions. Talking to Tony.
Yeah.
Tony.
What a fun guy Tony is.
Going from mostly card shows to all jerseys and that kind of memorabilia, it's a completely different thing. I mean, they had to bring a safe in because of what they're doing. I find that amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff they brought in was incredible. I mean,
of course.
Jordan rookie 9, Stan Musial game worn jersey, the Mike Bossy collection, some of the stuff that they took in, which I really don't want to get into all their consignments, but some of the stuff that I had or that we had brought in that they took out of here.
Right.
And, just the stuff they provided. And then
that people had at home.
Absolutely.
And
those guys did free appraisals and free opinions and helped people make decisions on moving forward with
collections. I wish I'd have gotten a picture of it. I was in the middle of doing interviews, and I regret getting a picture of this. But there was probably a kid 10 or 11 years old with some baseballs and other stuff,
Yeah.
and Tony was taking
The
so
time.
much time to go over what I could hear.
Yeah.
But
Kid had
really,
batting gloves, the batting gloves kid, and he had and baseball stuff, and but he's a young kid, he's into this stuff, and like you gotta kind of, we had a couple young guys that set up tables this weekend that were, older teenagers,
younger to the hobby.
yeah, younger than us,
Yes.
and and like you want to continue to have those people come in, and you want to let those guys. At some point we're going to be old and falling off, and there are some guys in the room that are older guys that are starting to see
Right.
the light at the end of the tunnel as far as their collecting goes. Not not trying to be weird, but
Right.
they're not as active, and we got to have those young guys, and we got to make sure that we invite those guys in and treat them well and teach them what we know, so that something that we love will continue
Yeah,
beyond.
if we don't
our
pass it
usefulness.
along,
Yeah, it
it's
goes away.
it's no good, and it gets forgotten about. It's funny because I even asked Heritage this question, and I think I caught him off guard for a second, but we got some fantastic answers. And I said, it's 2023, and you've got a catalog on the table.
Yeah.
Why? And we got into that,
Yeah.
and it was a great discussion because, again, so much is put online, Facebook and Google Photos and all that stuff. Theoretically, that stuff should be around a long time, but nothing's guaranteed. But we talked about the reference material, those books. People will write down what stuff sold for. Talked about my charting in the Google Sheets with the auctions. Those kind of things help. But it was crazy to look back and still see, because most people, no store does paper catalogs anymore.
No. But our hobby needs them, because the one thing is we are keepers of history.
Yep.
Don't talk about that part of it enough, but we are the keepers of the history of a lot of these things that we love, these sports, these items. The funny part is, and I heard somebody talk about something else a while back, in 50 years, a lot of us will be gone. A lot of those kids that I was
I'm
talking
going to be
about,
really damn old.
yeah, or those kids are going to be the guys that are going to be us or
Yep.
older, and they're going to be starting to go gone. And the stuff that we love and have, if it makes it that far, is going to be in somebody else's hands lovingly.
We hope those jerseys are continuing to be in the hobby
We're
somewhere.
keepers of this stuff.
Yeah.
We don't. It's not ours. We're keepers of it for now.
Not getting
And-
tossed out into the garbage or the crazy stories you hear about.
But we're
that.
lucky to be. I'm lucky to be a steward of our hobby. I think you feel the same way.
Oh, for
you
sure.
know, and I think that it's neat to see the way it grows and changes, and we're all fortunate to be a part of something we enjoy.
And again, I am not a St. Louis Cardinals person. I'm not a baseball person because it's too damn slow.
Yeah.
I can't deal with it. But I spent time back there with all the guys that had the Cardinal stuff, checking out those jerseys, because one of I don't remember the player now, but I mean, just dirt caked all over the front, and it's into the material. It's not like that just
Not coming out.
No, but just that to photo match baseball stuff.
Yeah.
And some of those kind of things, it's like taking what we know and you can apply it to some of the other to baseball now, and stop to look at the bats and those different things. And it's just, even if it's not necessarily your thing, take it in, because I don't care what you collect
It's still
in this
part
room.
of the thing.
Right. It all brings us together. The baseball memorabilia collectors, us. It's still game used stuff, and it could be lacrosse, it could
Absolutely.
be football.
There
Who
was
cares?
football stuff in here. There was there were some basketball jerseys. There was all kinds of stuff, and that's one of the things that, being the keeper of this event. Is,
Wait, you are? When did this happen?
I don't know. Yeah, but being that I sometimes every once in a while somebody's like, oh, it's not just this, and I go, I can't make it just this. This city isn't just this.
This is a
And
multi-sport city,
absolutely.
and down the road, once they have great traction now, and I don't know what they're doing with it, whatever. But as you have St. Louis City soccer that continue, those jerseys will come out.
Absolutely.
You may see that kind of stuff.
There was
popping
people
up
in here with St. Louis City shirts on, and like I said, I made a post a little bit ago on my Instagram and my Facebook, and we had people here from, and this isn't even all of them, but guys, Kansas City, Chicago, Wisconsin, Philadelphia, Michigan. A guy drove up yesterday who came over to say hi to me, who drove up from Arkansas.
Wow.
Drove up for the day to come to the show. Like so many of those people that live in here. I want to make sure I say thank you to everybody locally that took time out of their time with their families and their friends and their weekend to just be a part of it. So, anybody that, I don't want to just sound like those people are important, but everybody was important. But it's neat to know that many people came to be part of it. So
and
thank you.
Right, and we made sure if we had friends that couldn't get here from out of town and reach out. I mean, if they saw stuff in pictures, hey, I see that on whatever rack. Can you go to? And we'd give them details. Oh, okay, I'm interested or not or whatever. Or people, you helped facilitate stuff out of the area. I did some of that, and we don't mind doing it. We understand you can't get here.
Not everybody can
and
be
we'd
here.
rather, if you can make the deal, you know what? Then whatever it is, you're not feeling you missed out. You were able to pick up stuff and not even be here.
One of our friends had to get out of here. He was waiting for a guy to show up with a jersey. The guy showed up. I facilitated the deal. The jersey's in my possession. I'm going to ship it to our friend, but we were able to. He had been waiting for that jersey all day and had to catch a flight. And you know, it's worth it. You know, I had so many people that messaged me. Oh, did you get a chance to look for this for me? And it's like, I do the best I can. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Yep, and some of it's very easy as specific styles or specific things, and you can walk the room faster, just eyeball stuff and go, not here, sorry, or they have this, and is this whatever it may be, but there's
something here for everybody.
Yes,
and
if not, you may get connected with somebody that has it or can find it for you.
Absolutely,
because
so many
that
people.
happens.
Yeah, there are so many people that I heard say that they made a connection. There was one guy that said there was a guy he'd been trying to track down for a number of years who ended up standing in front of his booth, and he was like, I've been trying to track this guy down. And next thing I know, I look up and he's standing there. So here I give the credit to everyone else for the event because it doesn't matter if nobody shows up. It doesn't matter, So
right, everybody in the room would still be happy.
I give credit to everybody. I give credit to the people that are willing to set up the time to do it. I give credit to everybody that comes to the event to buy a photo, to get an autograph, to make a donation to Dog Nation, to drop something off to Heritage, to meet Uncle Milty, to come be on the podcast for 5 minutes and tell us that we're idiots.
Yeah, we'll probably get some of those comments. That's okay.
But thank you all, and thank you, Doc, for a fun weekend.
Well, and thank you too, because I know here in short order we'll hear the dates for next year. And like
probably
you said,
Monday or Tuesday. I got to get with the lady that I work with. We already have a tentative schedule for whatever, but. The one thing I do try to coordinate with is some of the other guys that do autograph shows and other shows locally.
Sure.
I also kind of like to see what days some of the other national jersey shows are because, I'm dancing with, the SoCal one is usually around this time.
And we had the Hershey Bear show yesterday. But again,
Georgia's show.
It happens where they fall on the same date, and that's great. The pictures from Hershey were fantastic.
Yeah. There's options. I like options. It's good for everybody. There's options everywhere. But I try to be conscientious of everybody else's shows so that we give people options that work for everybody all the time.
And again, thank you for all your hard work because I did charity hockey game stuff for 8 years and didn't have to juggle bringing in people from out of town or hotel rooms, just the game and who's playing and that stuff. And I know it takes 6 to 8 months, depending on stuff, of planning and. Again, working with the guys to come to do autographs and the room and kind of start projecting how many tables you need.
I know according to some people it's all about my ego, but honestly this is less about me and more about everybody
you started a weekend with hair and there isn't much left now.
No, it is about the community and the collections of people to me
and there's still some guys that are staying over tonight that may get together and hang out.
If I can get a couple things unpacked, who knows? You never know.
Right.
But thanks again, Doc.
Thank you. We'll have another podcast out soon. Let everybody rest, recover from the show, and
we got
there's
some
a
stuff
whole
to
lot
talk
of things
about
coming. Yeah, we've got. I teased it in the Friday night recording we did for this is and I apologize. I'm still blanking on his name. The gentleman running the Boston program is coming on in the coming months once they're settled. Working on some other things, pushing on some more contacts with players, and hopefully this opened up the door more too for that.
Yeah, people reach out to us and give us some topics.
We're early in the season, folks. We got a ton of stuff to talk about, and it's going to be a long, fun season. A lot of great shows. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for the support. I know these podcasts for these 2 days are super long, but I don't give a damn because they're a lot of fun. I regret not being able to talk to more people.
Yes.
So, but again, another Expo in St. Louis in the books. Again, wherever you go to shows, I'm glad you go. Thank you for supporting those. Thank you for supporting this one.
Till next time.
Till next time and till next show, Doc Noise, Wade Hampton, everybody else that could not join us, thank you. It is the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast.